Imagine this. The most fearsome warriors and empire builders in human history. Men who crushed nations, read room maps, and struck terror into millions. They lived lives of relentless conquest and unimaginable power. But how did they die? Not always in glorious battle, not always surrounded by loyal armies. Sometimes, their ends were shockingly ordinary, humiliating, or wrapped in dark legends that still haunt us today. In this video, we're diving into the strange, tragic, and often bizarre final moments of some of history's greatest conquerors. Let's begin with the man who built the largest land empire the world has ever seen. Genghis Khan, the undiscovered grave. In August 1227, around the age of 65, Genghis Khan was deep in campaign against the Western Shia kingdom. He had already forged a massive Mongol empire, stretching from Korea all the way to Eastern Europe, a territory bigger than any other single ruler had ever controlled before or since. His armies were unstoppable. His strategies, legendary. Official Mongol records say he died from injuries after falling from his horse during a hunt. But that's just one version. Later Persian chronicles tell a far more dramatic tale, that a captured Tangut princess, seeking revenge for her people's suffering, hid a small blade and stabbed the Khan in his tent, possibly castrating him. He bled out in one of history's most infamous acts of hidden vengeance. Other theories suggest plague, malaria, or even battle wounds. Whatever the truth, Genghis ordered his death kept secret. His body was carried back toward Mongolia. The funeral procession was ruthless. Anyone who saw it was killed to preserve the mystery. Workers who dug the grave were reportedly slaughtered. Horses trampled the ground flat, and trees planted over the site. To this day, no one has found his tomb. It's one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles, hidden somewhere in the sacred Khenti Mountains. The man who conquered the world vanished without a trace, his final resting place protected by death itself. Attila the Hun, death on his wedding night. Fast forward to 453. Attila the Hun, known as the Scourge of God, was at the height of his terror. His Hunnic Empire stretched across Central Europe, and his hordes had brought the mighty Roman Empire to its knees. Attila had just married a beautiful young Gothic woman named Hilda. The wedding feast was extravagant, endless food, rebers of wine. Attila, famous for his capacity, drank far too much and passed out on his back in the marriage bed. That night, something went horribly wrong. He suffered a severe nosebleed, possibly triggered by heavy drinking or a burst blood vessel, choking on his own blood while unconscious. The feared warlord died without a single battle wound. His bride was reportedly too terrified to call for help. When servants found him the next morning, he lay in a pool of blood. Legends of assassination swirled. Some said his new wife poisoned him or stabbed him on orders from the Romans. But the simplest explanation seems the most ironic. The man who survived countless battles drowned in his own blood after one wild night. His empire fractured almost immediately as his sons fought over the spoils. The terror of Europe ended not with a sword, but with a hangover. William the Conqueror, the exploding corpse. Jump to September 9th, 1087. William the Conqueror, aged about 59, had changed the course of English history forever with his victory at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. In his later years, he was defending his territories in France against rebellions. While attacking the town of Mantus, his horse reared up near burning buildings. The pommel of his saddle slammed violently into his abdomen, rupturing his intestines. William lingered in agony 4 weeks before dying in Rouen, France. His end was already undignified. His body, bloated and rotting in the summer heat, was taken to Cannes for burial. The stone sarcophagus prepared for him was too small. As priests tried to force the swollen corpse inside, the abdomen burst open. A foul stench filled the church, making mourners vomit and flee in disgust. The once mighty conqueror of England was hastily crammed into his tomb. Timur Tamerlane. The curse that may have started World War II. In February 1405, T68, year-old Timur, also called Tamerlane, was leading his vast army toward China. When he fell ill during a brutal winter campaign, this undefeated Turco-Mongol conqueror had built an empire from Turkey to India, leaving millions dead in his wake. He died of fever and exhaustion before reaching his goal. Timur was buried in a grand mausoleum in Samarkand, beneath a massive jade slab. The inscription carried a chilling warning. When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble, or whoever disturbs my tomb will unleash an invader worse than I for centuries. The tomb stayed sealed. Then, in June 1941, Soviet anthropologists ignored local elders' warnings and opened it. Just 2 days later, on June 22, 1941, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. Millions would die. Some say the curse was fulfilled. The Soviets later rebirthed Timur with full Islamic rights in 1942. Soon after came the turning point at Stalingrad. Coincidence? Or one of history's strangest what-ifs, Alexander the Great. Buried alive. In June 323 BC, Alexander the Great died in Babylon at just 32 years old. He had conquered from Greece to India, never losing a battle, and created one of the largest empires of the ancient world. His troops saw him as invincible, perhaps even divine. After a night of heavy drinking at a banquet, Alexander developed a raging fever. Over the next days, paralysis spread through his body. He grew weaker, unable to speak or move, yet remained fully conscious. Ancient accounts say his body did not begin to decompose for 6 full days after he was declared dead, proof of his godlike nature. Modern doctors have a darker theory. Alexander may have suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome, an autoimmune disorder. It causes ascending paralysis. While leaving the mind intact, breathing becomes shallow and hard to detect. If Alexander was still alive but paralyzed, he might have been pronounced dead while fully aware, and then prepared for burial. The greatest conqueror in history, possibly buried alive in his own paralyzed body. His empire shattered immediately. Cyrus the Great, head in a bowl of blood. Around 530 BC, Cyrus the Great, founder of the vast Persian Empire, fell in battle against the Masagetai, a nomadic tribe led by Queen Timur. Cyrus was known as an enlightened ruler. After earlier clashes where Cyrus tricked and killed Timurus' son, the queen swore revenge. In the decisive battle, Cyrus was slain. Timur searched the battlefield herself, found his body, and ordered his head cut off. She then plunged it into a wineskin filled with human blood, declaring, "Drink your fill of blood, since you were so thirsty for it." It was the ultimate act of vengeance by a warrior queen against the man who had spilled so much of hers. Suleiman, the Magnifica, the dead sultan, who watched the siege. In September 1566, during the siege of Shigaf, the 71-year-old Suleiman, the longest reigning and most successful Ottoman sultan, died in his tent. He had expanded the empire across 3 continents during its golden age. His Grand Vizier, Sokoyu Mehmet Pasha, realized the danger. If the army learned their sultan was dead while deep in enemy territory, morale would collapse, so he kept it secret for 48 days. The sultan's inner organs were removed and buried quietly. His body was embalmed, dressed in royal robes, and propped upright in a chair. Soldiers marching past saw their sultan watching them. The vizier even moved the stiffened arm occasionally to maintain the illusion. Only when his successor arrived safely from Istanbul was the truth revealed. Suleiman ruled from beyond the grave to prevent disaster. These stories show a powerful truth. No matter how legendary the conqueror, death levels everyone. Some died in battle, others from accidents or illness, and many left behind mysteries, curses, or grotesque final scenes. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's darkest secrets, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and remember, even the greatest empires end. See you in the next one.